Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the way a narcissist can be with animals. I have a covert narcissist, ex-narc, and they're supposed to be introverts and shy and things like that. And there is a little bit of a difference between, or there's a very big difference between overt and covert narcissists, or the lesser and the greater narcissist. So, you can always spot the overt narcissist, the greater one, the Donald Trumps, the grandiose, life of the party, everyone look at me. But as far as the coverts go, they're very stealth. They're hidden amongst us. They're like almost like serial killers. They look like everybody else. The thing that they mostly have in common, doesn't matter if they're the lesser or greater or mid-range or covert or overt, however you want to describe the narcissist, the one thing that they have in common across the board is that they need fuel. And they need fuel in every minute of their lives because they can't generate it themselves. Now, it doesn't have to be direct fuel from the main supply. They can get fuel from a lot of different places. They always, I think, need a main supply, but the secondary fuel supply can come from a lot of different things. And that also goes towards the way people that don't even know them think about them and praise them. And in social media, I think the fact that we have so much social media now, it's really birthing a lot of narcissists and just drawing them out and making it just seems like, I'm hearing the word narcissist so much every day, not just because I do a lot of research on it and the fact that I was married to one and with one for 7 years, but, social media really just, the things that come across social media with likes and everything like that, it's fuel. Right? And that's why a lot of them are glued to their phone to see how many people are looking at them and what they're doing, how many likes they're getting, what people say. Every little bit of it is fuel for them. And this is one of the things that I didn't understand when me and my ex-narc were together. He wanted me to start Instagramming and posting all this stuff, of posting every meal I had. And every time I would do anything in the garden, I had to post it, or in the kitchen, or when I was working out. He just wanted me to take pictures of myself and post. And I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want people just looking at me and comment. I want it to be, that's private. If I want to do yoga in my bedroom, I don't want to take pictures of myself constantly. I'm allowed to do a yoga sesh without having to take a picture. And he, there was no such thing as him eating a meal without taking a picture of it and putting it on social media. And it got to be exhausting watching him do that. And one of the things, and I'm kind of leading into what this talk is going to be about. I wanted to make it about animals. Leading into that, we had a lot of animals. When I met him, he had 4 cats and 1 dog. And hearing about how he acquired all these cats, he used to have more dogs. They went with his first ex-wife when they broke up, and and I was really looking forward to having a dog when when I settled into my own house that could where I can have a dog. So that's exactly what I ended up doing. But then he got another dog too. So then we had 3 dogs. And I had a cat already. So we had 3 dogs and 4 cats. And over the next few years, it grew. We ended up getting, another dog, which I was very upset about. Because then we had 4 big dogs. And then we got, chickens, we got rabbits, we got tortoise, we got all this stuff, all these animals. And when he was like going for it, and it was just, looking back at it now, I couldn't understand, like, I just wanted my dog. But he needed all these animals, not because he loves animals so much. And yes, he always, claims to be this big, vegan and save the earth, animal lover person. But all these animals, he didn't want them because he loved them. He wanted them because they were a tool for him to do photo ops with, and just have people know that he has all these animals and has rescued all of them, and how great of a humanitarian he is. And, they were a line of fuel. These animals ended up being fuel for him because of the way everyone would react to him once they found out he had them. But the thing is, when no one's watching, these animals are not properly cared for by him. And they really weren't. And it got to be a real burden on our relationship because, these dogs ended up being just so much work, and two of the dogs were very problematic dogs. They barked, they fought, and one of them was a complete, one of them was so lazy, you can barely get her to walk across the yard. And it wasn't this great dog best friend connection. It was just, she was just kind of there. She didn't even look at you ever. So it was really sad, actually. And we were really busy, and we were trying to take trips. And whenever we had to leave, it was a big issue, just to trying to get someone to take care of all of our animals. So it was this huge amount of work for us just to go somewhere overnight. Right? And the thing is, and of course he would always just exhaust all of our friends and family to get all our animals and everything taken care of. And, everyone looked at him and loved him for being such a humanitarian, but if they saw what he was really like with these animals, I mean, like I went away for a weekend. I went to visit my sister, I think. And I came back and I was looking at the dogs. I'm like, what happened? Like, they were all thin. He's like, yeah, I ran out of dog food. I'm like, well, they haven't eaten. When's the last time they ate? And they're like, oh, it's been a few days. Like, they hadn't eaten in 3 days, the dogs. And they were noticeably thinner. And I was like, oh my God. And so I ran out and got dog food. Another time, I had to take a trip. I came back. And again, I would come home and I would look at the dogs, and they had, they were bleeding behind all their ears. I'm like, what's going on? And I looked at them more closely. They all had fleas. I'm like, look at our dogs. Like, it was like, he was like, oh, and he was so busy. He was just kind of like hustling them around. And he was so into whatever he was, projects he was doing. He always had projects and things, and, filming videos for YouTube and editing, and, and so I spent the next few days treating, and we have 4 big dogs. I mean, it takes a few hours to treat each dog for fleas and shampooing them and getting them medicine. And I was just like, and he didn't really even notice. He was just, And then one of the cats got sick, and I took it to the vet, and he was just he really just didn't, looking back on it, man, he really didn't care about any of these animals, unless the camera was rolling, or unless he would be talking about it. We would go for hikes with some of the dogs, and he'd always be taking pictures of them and stuff like that. But when there wasn't a photo op available, he really just didn't care for them, and when he discarded me, he left all the dogs and animals. His 4 cats, all 4 of his cats got left behind. And all the dogs. He didn't, I don't care. There's no such thing as a humanitarian and animal lover would ever do that. Like, in any normal relationship, that's a major, if like, these are like your kids. You don't, that, like, only a narcissist would able to discard you and all their beloved animals, right? Usually there's fights and people go to court to fighting over the dog, and and 3 of the dogs were his, and he was just, nope, like, bye, like, literally overnight. And all his cats, I think he had one cat, she was kind of a bitch, but I never saw him hold that cat in 3 years, one of his cats. And like, but everyone, the fuel he got from everyone thinking that he was this huge animal lover. And you know what? The thing that really was upsetting is that when we broke up, everyone got mad at me for keeping the animals. It was just, and I didn't respond to all those comments and people, like, saying things like that. I'm sitting there, what? He left. He went off with his new supply, and he never looked back, like, and I got ridiculed because they didn't know that he didn't care about these animals. These animals, one of the animals he had for 10 years, and just in a heartbeat, he just walked away and just, yeah, like that. Normal people can't do that, right? Well, only a narcissist, like, they don't have the empathy. Like, they know how to behave because they can see the way other people behave in situations, and they mimic that, right, as what they're supposed to do, but they're not really feeling those emotions. And when it doesn't support the fuel source that they need, it's discarded completely. So, like, it was really upsetting. So I did ended up going, keeping in contact with him. It's like, what are we doing with the animals? And we adopted some out, and I actually had to go to his mom to get one of the dogs adopted out because he wasn't proactive in even trying to do anything. So I was working with her, and and he got rid of the other 2 dogs. Like, I don't know what happened to them. I don't, like, it was very sad. But the thing is, and I got all the blame for it, like, as if I was this evil person that took his dogs away because like, when we got that 4th dog, he adopted that 4th dog, and I was saying, no, we can't take on another big dog like that. And the dog that we were taking on was a problematic dog, had been abused and it had issues, so it needed a lot of care. And I was trying to tell him, like, no, we can't do this. Like, it threw the dynamics of the entire house off. And that was like a major, like, sore spot of the 2 of us arguing. And every time I would try to, like, approach him saying, okay, we need to talk about adopting this dog out, the right response from someone who's an animal lover would be, I love that dog. I'm not getting rid of that dog. But that wasn't his response ever. You know what his response was? He said, what is my audience going to think if I get rid of one of my dogs? I'm like, that was the truth coming out of a narcissist. That's not the truth coming out of a normal person that is an animal lover. An animal lover is supposed to keep their animals because they love them, not keep their animals because if they got rid of them, what would their audience say? And that is a narcissist. Okay? But he wasn't taking care of these animals. I was. And like, he didn't care. And so, and I do love animals, and I still have the cats, and I have my dog. And it because I know what I can handle, and I don't need to start adopting ridiculous amount of animals because I get, I don't need the fuel from, society. I can make, so, but my gosh, that was, that was a hard one, during our relationship. And I knew something was wrong, and I knew it was wrong the way he was with the animals, but I didn't know at the time it was because he was a narcissist. I didn't learn he was a narcissist until after our relationship ended and he was with the new supply, and I was just left devastating, not knowing what happened, but the animals were definitely part of it towards the end, because our whole household was always in a ruckus with dog fights happening, the exhaustion of trying to manage these 4 large dogs when we were both so busy. So, but yeah, like, a narcissist is not an animal lover. They won't get fuel that they require from the animal. They get fuel by the way other people respond to them having an animal. So that's something that you really need to pay attention to when you're dealing with a narcissist. And if you have a narcissist in your life and you have animals in your life, there's something to, pay attention to, because remember, narcissists don't have the same feelings that we do. They don't have the empathy and remorse, including towards animals. They and it's the same with humans. Like, they'll put them in the same, category. It's kind of all fake in order to get fuel in one way or another. So I'm sorry I kind of went on a little bit of a rant. It's still a very sensitive issue about what happened with the animals, but thank you so much, guys, for listening. And be sure to, hit like and subscribe and leave me your comments, because I really love to read them. And I'm glad that you're here to join this tribe and this community of us trying to thrive and survive post-narcissist.